Hello pilots! On March 16th there was a new Devstream where Mitch gave us some insights into the current development of the game. He seems to be working his way from the outside to the inside as far as the new bomber is concerned. After the hull is ready, he has modeled the internal structure and starts to make the cockpit in the Devstream. During the stream, he answered some questions that I put at the beginning of the video. Afterwards we can see gameplay of the new bomber. During the stream, Mitch showed a lot of how he models the cockpit and also comments on one or the other. Apparently bevels play a big role. If you want to get all the details, I recommend watching the stream in full length. For those who are also interested in information about Mitch that is less related to the game, find a part at the end of the video that deals with birds and meals. The questions asked are not sorted chronologically but thematically. This can cause visual confusion, but I would be more irritated by thematic jumps. Enough of the introduction, let's jump into the stream.
I do have a HOTAS, but I'm using a gamepad for testing. And I like to make sure the game is playable on a gamepad.
Any info you can tell us about the plans for adding artillery?
Yep, at some point after 0.33 we're going to be adding artillery, and the reason that we're not adding it right away is twofold. There's balance reasons. We need to work out how artillery will be balanced, because otherwise we'll just end up being spammy and annoying. The other reason is somewhat technical. We just need a different algorithm for artillery than for direct fire, so we'll have to do a bit of work on that as well. I don't imagine that the technical side will be super complex, but just bit of extra work to do. The Scythes changes are not really very much. They do guide a bit faster off the rail, but it's not it's not like you're going to be doing really high off bore sight stuff with them. The reason that the TBMs go off at the strategic threshold, well, you don't know what's on a TBM, so you need to treat it as the biggest kind of threat that you can conceptualize. You don't know whether it's conventional, tactical, or strategic. So yeah, launching a TBM is about the most aggressive thing you can do. The 20 kilotons is considered tactical in nuclear option. It's considered a tactical level yield, but in real life, launching ballistic missiles is an action that can come with you could put a strategic nuclear warhead on a tactical nuclear missile. No, the only helicopters are getting the AT-145. In lore, what's the oldest aircraft? Compass is pretty old. Compass and Revoker. The Cricket and the Chicane are both getting upgrades. They're both getting interesting features in this update, so we'll see what the state of things is after that. Yep, the Eyeball and asymmetric pylons. And the Eyeball is the AGM-48 optical detection missile without a warhead. For anyone who's just tuning into these streams, I don't think we've done any official announcement of that thing yet. Like, it hasn't been posted on socials. We might do a showcase of it prior to release. Currently, the aircraft with asymmetric outer pylons are going to be the Chicane, Cricket, and Brawler. The A-10 does use an asymmetric loadout normally, but it is because it's a poorly designed aircraft. Or it's a poorly suited aircraft in the modern battlefield. Is it planned to give the Tarantula more defensive options? Not at the moment. It's a pretty strong logistics aircraft. It needs support, of course. And I'm not planning on giving the ejection seats more burn time either, because I think it's currently realistic. Version numbers don't mean anything in relation to how close the game is to final. If we got to 0.99, it wouldn't mean that we have to release the game at that point. We would just, like, the next version would be 0.10, or yeah, it would just wrap back around again. So it's yeah, 0.10. So it doesn't tell you how close the game is to release, looking at the version number. There are different types of early access. Generally there's short early access, which is often just kind of a scam. And then there's long early access, where the developers keep on supporting the game pretty much indefinitely in early access, which just means like the game is going to continue changing because the devs are still working on it. and that's the good kind where everyone benefits. Yes, ask not when the game will be out of early access, because as long as it's in early access, it's going to keep on. It's going to be supported.
Let's briefly summarize. Mitch owns a HOTAS but uses a gamepad to test the game, and he wants to continue to make sure that all input devices are supported in the best possible way. We can expect the introduction of artillery after the upcoming update. I'm curious to see how it will affect the battlefield and the gameplay itself. Scyths have only been minimally optimized. TBMs only start at the strategic stage so that the enemy does not know whether they are actually nuclear warheads. The AT-145 missile will only be available to helicopters. I continue to wonder what this weapon is all about and where it will find its place. Compass and Revoker are the oldest airframes in the game. Cricket and Chicane are getting upgrades. On the one hand, the Eyeball AGM missiles which will make it possible to detect enemies. In addition, both will have asymmetrical outer pylons. However, this also counts for the Brawler. Nothing was said about the new cannon turret of the Cricket. There are no plans to improve the Tarantula's armament, it just needs an escort. Version numbers are not indicative of the progress of the game's development. As long as Nuclear Option is in early access, it will continue to be developed and we can play it. That was the Q&A session. Let's take a look at the new bomber in action, with Mitch flying the bomber in a mission that was created especially for testing. But first he reports on his current progress and the development of the new bomber.
Yeah, since the last stream, I have added mechanical details. So let me just turn down the alpha on the skin so you can see them. These are the mechanicals for the fast bomber. They're done at this point. And the damage textures are also done. So that leaves the main thing left on this aircraft to be the cockpit. So I'll just turn the alpha back up. Okay, we've got some questions. Firstly, we have some random GD player saying, just out of curiosity, have you guys managed to hire people so far? We just closed applications on Friday. We had over 120 of them, and so far we've managed to create a shortlist, and we'll be emailing the shortlist applicants shortly, and then we'll be doing interviews. So we haven't hired anyone yet, but yeah, we had a lot of interest in the role, which is fantastic, and it's a great problem to have. It's too many people applying, but yeah, it's gonna make the process take a little bit longer than expected. No, I'm not going to be revealing the name of the bomber on stream. That's going to end up being a surprise when it releases. This does have a placeholder location for refueling probe. It's in front of the cockpit. Yeah, we also need to work on some final weapon mounts after the cockpit. I shouldn't have mentioned refueling. We don't have plans to implement refueling. Any refueling features visually are just there for the sake of plausibility. The afterburners, they use a shader, which it looks various colors from different angles. So that's probably why you're seeing variation in the color there. It's the same shader that the other afterburners use. And yeah, this has 4 engines. You can see the 2 engines side by side there in the nacelle. It has 4 engines, primarily for a form factor reason, to keep it relatively slim. It needs to have gear that fold up into the space underneath the swing wing, and then the swing wing needs to be able to fold in underneath the engines. So having a single engine would make the profile too tall. It does look a bit like an Ifrit from the front. Good thing it's on the same faction. So how big is this in comparison to other aircraft? It is one of the biggest aircraft in the game, or it is second only to the Dark Reach in terms of max takeoff weight. So I can show you it next to a Dark Reach for comparison. Well, something like that. I think I showed you 2 like work in progress Dark Reach versions that were in the collection. Visual changes to the Revoker would mainly be tweaks to the size of the weapon bays. Okay, here's damage model testing. Gonna see how the fast bomber fares when shot up. Okay, here's an S1 impact. I took out 2 engines. Oh. I don't know what that was. It might have been 23mm hitting me. Yes, well, Stratolance will do that. Tuskers shouldn't be able to do that. Do what? Hit a stationary hovering chicane? Weapon bay animation. Okay, here you go. Still bits coming down. There we go, it's despawned. No, it's not controllable after ejection. You can spectate it though. What's the max payload? I don't know. Max payload. We can carry. Let's empty these and put in a combined demo bomb. So 10 tons at least, easily. But then you could also put on a couple of Piledrivers on the wings. So what's that payload? That's 15 tons. Now, I hazard a guess it's going to be a bit sluggish at 15 tons. And then that makes the total weight 64-ish with full fuel. So you could make it way up to 67 tons. I'm curious how well it takes off at that figure. So yeah, let's see how much the runway it takes. Definitely doesn't feel very fast. It's got a thrust to weight ratio of 0.45. Okay, so we have liftoff at about 360 kilometers per hour with that loadout. The long wings definitely help with that. And then try to land it with folded wings, sure. Those are actually wild birds just outside my window. Alright, here we go, swinging the wings in. And then wings out. Okay, I'm gonna be right back. There's just some construction that started up. Yeah, whether the wings are swept or not doesn't affect its ability to fire. Yep, the wings do jam if they're damaged. Or if they're damaged more than a significant amount. Okay, here goes. We'll see what it takes to land this thing with wings swept and full payload. Okay, so we're already at 7 degrees AOA at 500 kilometers an hour. This is going to be one sketchy landing. Okay, I need to give it more power or else I'm just going to drop out of the sky at 450. Alright, I think we're going to need the whole runway to slow down. So 8 degrees AOA landing, 450 kilometers an hour. Oof, okay. And on the brakes. Unfortunately, we don't have any brake fade in nuclear options, so are able to bring that to a stop. It's got those carbon ceramic brakes there. I don't think a 450 kilometer an hour landing speed is really reasonable, Cosmic. Max speed Piledriver launch across Ignis. I can give it a try. That looks fine so far. Yeah, it's working fine. Still going over Mach 2 at apogee. Still gaining speed, Mach 4.5. You've hit Mach 5. Okay, now we're hitting dense air, slowing down again. But impact at Mach 4.7. Alright, Cosmic, I'll put a scythe on it. Here you go, scythe versus chicane. I like how 2 of the engines are still running. New bomb things? Sure. I have shown these on stream before, but I'll show them again. Oh, that was redundant. I think I just took a hit from some 23 mil. I did. Definitely not as durable as the as the brawler. Got a fuel leak, but it's holding together. Okay, so we have a cluster of tanks here, cluster of trucks, and some other various vehicles. Oh. Alright, ready? So that was 3 of them. And it was a bit of a foolhardy release. How does it not spin out vertically without any horizontal stabilizers? That's a great question. In fact, it's completely unstable in the yaw axis. So it relies on fly-by-wire to use the wingtip air brakes to keep it pointed in the right direction. So I can demonstrate this. I'll just turn around and get out of this area. Flip over vertically, why would it do that? It's like it's a delta. Oh. Well, now it flips over vertically. It's a delta shape, which means it's fairly stable in pitch. The delta means there's more wing area towards the back, so it doesn't really want to swap ends in that axis. So we fold up the wings. Yeah, there's nothing about this shape once swept. There's nothing about that shape that suggests instability in the pitch axis. It's instability in the yaw axis that you have to worry about. Can it pull a Cobra? Well, maybe. I'm going to set the wings back to fully extended. You know, I probably could if I put some munitions in the rear bay and not the front one. Pitch limiter disabled.
Stall.
It can pull 30 degrees AOA with a default loadout. Doesn't really want to do more than that. Doesn't have any thrust vectoring either.
Stall. Stall.
Does this aircraft have seed weaponry? Yes, it does. You can put a radar jamming pod and ARADs. So jam that radar. It might get lasered, we'll see. Yep. Actually, there's some shards over here, or one shard. I'll go after the shard with the remaining ARADs. G limit is 8. I've taken some damage in that left intake. Alright, so go shard, 2 ARADs, and jamming pods. It's flying a bit unsteady with that damage on one wing. There we go. So question about the fire. It is like there is a threshold for leaks. So like fuel tank leakage is entirely deterministic. Being damaged a certain amount will cause fuel tanks to leak at a certain rate, which is configurable per part. And then when damage is dealt, there is a chance of igniting if there is a leak and damage is dealt, there's a chance of igniting that leak, which is dependent on the amount of damage. So blast damage and pierce damage also both have an independent chance of igniting fuel leaks. I think that was actually a miss, but it still fragged it. The aircraft most vulnerable to fires are generally the ones with the most fuel. They're configured to be pretty burny. Yep, I'll jump off and do some cockpit design. As you can see, this just burst into flames from a single 23mm hit. Okay, someone asked how much fuel does it have at mill power? Oh, on mill power. Phew, I don't know. Well over an hour. Well over an hour on mill power. possibly multiple hours.
The new bomber really does seem to be a monster. We were able to see its enormous destructive potential and learn that Scythes are also currently being tested on the airframe. I still find it difficult to sort it out and estimate how it will play in the end. All that remains is to shed some light on Mitch's personal side. Below, he reveals information about his birds and his eating habits. I'm drawn back to the cockpit, which is why all I can do is say goodbye with the usual fly safe.
Another person asked if the birds are safe, and yes, I went out and made a coat cage for the finches, and there's a new guy, there's a new finch. I'll see if I'll bring him over. If I can do that. So these are the two finches. There's, well, probably a bit hard to see. The camera's not in a very good position, but the new little guy just arrived yesterday afternoon. I don't have a name for him yet, and I thought, since we have a stream today, I'll be taking suggestions for the finch's name. I won't be doing a poll because they always go badly, but I will take suggestions. The other one, the survivor, is Alfie. The finches don't scream, they beep. What I might do is just put them on the other side of the room for this dev stream. I'm not quite confident enough to put them back outside yet, even with the cage. But in theory, this should do a pretty good job of protecting them. It's got a 5 centimeter offset, and the wire is 5 millimeter spacing, so it should stop any significantly sized bird beak from getting in there. Alright, I'll just be right back. I'm going to put this on the other side of the room so it doesn't, so that it causes much noise. Okay, favorite meal of the day. Now we're getting some real questions here. For breakfast, I will have Wheat Bix almost every day. If you don't know what Wheat Bix are, look them up. They are they're pretty bland, like wheat-based cakes, but I put 4 of them in a bowl, put some honey on it, put some yogurt on the honey, and then put muesli on the yogurt. So that makes it all kind of stick together and gives it some flavor. And then you pour milk over everything. Probably my favorite lunch. This is going to be depressing. My favorite lunch is no lunch because I probably have skipped more lunches in my life than I have eaten any one type of food, any one type of lunch. But if I do have lunch, often it's like leftovers from the night before. If I make like extra food for dinner, or like a toasted cheese and some kind of meat sandwich. So like sometimes I have like a can of tuna, like a mini small can of tuna, and just like spread it over 2 sandwiches and then put some cheese on them, butter the outsides, and then toast it in a press. And then for dinner, I generally try to eat a different meal each day of the month, so it's a difficult question. Some of my favorites, I do have a lot of Italian and Mexican meals in my cooking routine. I love me some nachos. I had nachos last night. It was a vegetarian recipe. It just had like beans and diced tomatoes and what was the rest? A bunch of spices, onion. I don't personally like Vegemite very much, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty strong stuff. If you do eat it, I think, or if you are going to try it and you haven't tried it before, definitely don't put much on. Like, use it very lightly. Think of it like condensed salt. It's very yeah. I'm not really into like extremely salty things that have a strong flavor. Like I don't like anchovies. Burritos or tacos, which is better? I like burritos because they're easy and they don't make as much mess. So if I could only have breakfast, lunch, or dinner, definitely dinner. I would choose dinner, yeah. Like, I only have breakfast every day because I need it to function. Favorite pasta noodles? I Oh man, it's hard. I like them all. Like I like macaroni. Yeah, I like making a macaroni casserole. Gee, you guys make me hungry now. I have to take. I'm gonna have lunch today, I think.